All right. All right. Happy 420. Let's get high. All right. The thing that I like about 420 is that, first of all around the globe, every time the clock turns 20, is 420 somewhere. And certainly in this area that many people, sort of have a thing just to light up at 420 because it's a very kind of communal thing. So I'm just trying to sort of beam into that. Elon asked me that I should speak about the land of Israel. So I was thinking about that, and it's hard for me to just sort of speak about one thing. You may have noticed. So, but I thought that maybe I should, give us a perspective about the land of Israel, Eretz Israel. So it starts before creation. And what was there before creation? So God existed before creation. Who is God? God is Borei. Borei means the creator. That's all we know about God. God is the creator. Beyond that, we don't know. But the ancient books, who had enormous amounts of information about creation, explains that not only was the creator, but the creator also had the light of the creator. And the light of the creator is called Or Ein Sof, light without end, because this light was kind of a static light in that there wasn't any movement. And what there was, it was all the possibilities of God, all the things that God to do, and God can do like just infinite amount of things. See, and our whole creation is based on 10, which is really based on the four letters of God's name. And but beyond that, there are names without end, and each one like has a different reality that we couldn't even begin to comprehend. As an example of how we couldn't possibly comprehend is that science can only measure corporality. And in the whole universe, they can only measure 4%. They know there's another 96%, but we have no idea what it is. We call it dark matter and dark energy. And it's all within this realm of 10. So how much more so when you go beyond 10, when you go on beyond our reality? And what's our reality? Our reality is corporality, physicalness, materialness, and then 3 kind of levels of spiritual, which correspond to water, air, and fire. See? And that is physical and spiritual. And all of that was made out of the Or Ein Sof, which is infinite names, infinite possibilities. And the way that was done and why it was done is God had a desire. And we can only speak in our terms. And one of the reasons it says God had a desire is because desire is illogical. We don't know why we desire this and why we desire that and why we desire what we desire. We desire it. I mean, if it was logical, we could go out and know exactly who we should hang with, have babies with, but, it's not logical. You want a person, maybe you shouldn't even have it. It's a married person or, and life can be extremely confusing. And we all understand that desire is not logical. So by saying that God had a desire, we understand, this is not based on some sort of logic. God's beyond logic. And what was God's desire? God's desire to be known in low. Where was low? Low didn't exist. God would have to create low and then be known in low. So God had a whole plan and engraved that plan into a dot, which is the letter Yud in Hebrew, which is a gematria 10. That's how everything got infused with 10. And with that dot, sort of like the point of the instrument, God carved into Or Ein Sof, carved the will of God, embedded into this dot, into Or Ein Sof, which was static, wasn't moving. And it was like stirring that which is, is static, suddenly becomes dynamic. And it's called engraving, galif. And the way you engrave is you turn the blade, you turn. And through doing that, created a turning. Everything began to turn. And from the turning caused weight. And the weight, as it got weightier and weightier, it started to funnel down until it funneled down into a point. And out of that point burst all the stars. Or burst, better to say, burst the light. And the light went out in every direction, everywhere. Until the Creator said, die. And die in Hebrew means enough. Therefore, God is called Shaddai. And Shaddai is a word that means who said enough. And it's interesting that the breasts, of woman are called Shaddai, meaning that there's always enough. Because a woman, it's not like she has to fill her breast with milk and then give it to the child like she would a bottle, but rather it's the sucking of the child which stimulates the gland that makes milk. So whenever the child wants to drink, there's always something there. And the breasts are called Shaddai, that there's always enough. But crying enough to creation caused everything to stop. And when it stopped, it reverberated, into color. And as we know, the speed of light. That's how the speed of light got done. And everything became created. The whole universe became created, full of black holes, spurting out all these stars. And in our Milky Way galaxy, which has stars beyond number, on the outskirts of one of these arms, spiraling through the universe, we find our solar system, which depicts 10, the sun and 9 planets. And I know that the astronomers have insisted there's only 8 planets, but I can actually prove that there's 9, because 10 years before they discovered the 5 moons of Pluto, I was able to predict it in a manuscript I sent to the Library of Congress. And I'm just getting. I just got a letter today. It cost like hundreds of dollars to get it, but I want to get it because it proves that through a logical way of understanding the structure of creation, I was able to predict there would be 5 moons around Pluto, because Pluto is the 10th planet, and the 10th planet has to do with the mouth, and and the mouth has 5 components. It corresponds to the 5 the letters that we end. When they end, they're written in a different way, called Mananetzbach. And all of this, I was sure of this because everything else fit into the structure of the tree of life, components of 10, which absolutely proves that Pluto is a planet. It's not actually called Pluto; it's Eretz, Iran. And it's another thing that has to change in our world, is to stop calling these planetary bodies by Roman names, Roman gods, because that's just stuff for TV, movies, but actually the reality, the truth is so much more interesting than what any puny mind can sort of think of. And the beauty of this earth, see, is it didn't come from the Big Bang. What am I talking about? The Big Bang. There is no Big Bang. In my book, instead of writing a black hole, I'm talking about black holes. HOLE. I write a black hole. WHOLE, because that's the truth. Inside of that hole is everything. That's why there's uniformity throughout the universe, because everything was engraved by that original desire of God. But God wanted to be known in low until what was low. So it all came down, and and things are everywhere. There's different galaxies and there's different solar systems, but nowhere is there life. Only on the earth is there life. And why is there life on the earth? The reason is because the earth did not come from this effluence of energy and stars. That the earth is a pebble at the foot of the throne of God, that God put in this place. And that's why forever this little pebble, and if you actually look at the earth, without the seas, it's not round. I mean, it's, it looks more like a pebble, not like something that came about through nature, making everything round, but rather something that's special. This special rock that we live on, which came from the foot of the throne of the Creator, put in this place, which will always grow. And we find anywhere that we go, anywhere in this world, we find life. There's places that we say, oh, life couldn't be there, it's too cold. Life couldn't be there, it's too, it's too hot. Life couldn't be there, it's too deep. Everywhere we find life, that just happened? No, life didn't happen. The earth grew. Life is grown from this rock that we are on. And instead of destroying the rock and fouling the seas and polluting the air, we should be appreciating where we live, and that we have, so many other human beings that we're living with. And if we would just stop politicking and begin rather to really cooperate as a body, because originally both the Torah and the scientists agreed to this, that originally there was only one landmass, and sort of like like an embryo. At the very beginning, it's all just one cell, two cells. It becomes like a clump of cells. And it's quite a while before it starts to express itself in limbs and separation. And the world was the same way. And so on the seventh day of creation, each day corresponds to 1,000 years. On the seventh day of creation, um, uh, on the sixth day of creation, the Creator gathered dust from all over this one land and created the human being, 120 feet tall. And the angels complained, on this little rock, that big human being is just going to shit too much. So God made the human being 6 feet tall. Now, since the whole idea of life on this planet is for the human being, because the human being is different from the animals in our ability to articulate thoughts into speech. Animals can make guttural sounds, but they're really emotional expressions. But no animal, like even a parrot, could parrot what you say, or an ape can ape what you do. But none of them can have their own individual thoughts that they express in speech, and that's what we do. We call it freedom of speech. It's a very big deal. It's a very human thing, and we don't give that to animals. We're just telling animals, shut up already. But animals are, they do what they want. Not so with human beings. So human beings, we have freedom of choice. We can do good. We can do bad. So this human being was then taken to the Garden of Eden as a fire in a fire form, and it was there that the human being was divided, male and female, and all the things that happened from then. But in the meantime, the human being that God had made. By the way, I just wanted to mention that God does everything sort of in, the human being is the main deal. So all the animals were to scale of the human being. So the human beings are 120 feet tall, so the animals also can be very tall. What we call the dinosaurs. However, the dinosaurs became extinct very quickly when God made the human being 6 feet tall. Then all the animals became 6 feet tall. But in that time, some had lived and died, and and we have the remnants. And this human being then spread out through the whole world, which itself spread out. In the beginning, it was one thing surrounded by water, and then it spread out until it has a form. And that's the form that we know of our globe, that's made in 7 continents. And these 7 continents are correspond to the head, the 2 arms, the torso, the 2 legs, and the sex. And we can see that in the configuration of the world, in Eurasia being the torso, and China and Great Britain being the hands, and the arms are sunken into the water, and the lobes of the brain are Scandinavia, and the legs are Africa and South America, and Canada is the back, and America is the buttocks, and the Middle East is the sex of Mother Earth. She is woman, and the Mediterranean is the sex, and at the end of that is the land of Israel, which is the place that where the human being was put together, where everything was gathered together and was put together in this place of the land of Israel. That became like the land of Israel, which is right, at the end of the Mediterranean, which is the place of conception. And that's where Abraham was taken and told, I'm giving this land to you. And it wasn't just the land of Israel, but it's the whole Middle East. And the descendants of Abraham are Yishmael and Yitzchak, each progenitor of 12 tribes. And the whole land is holy in that this was given to Abraham, and Abraham was such a special dude that it says that in the beginning his name was Avram. But Avrah means like high father, and he was like too high. I don't know if you get too high, but the Abraham says was too high. Let's get too high. So he was too high. So God had to give him a hey, which the hey has to do with the 5 parts of speech, has to do with speech in general. And then Abraham was able to come to the world and speak. I don't know about too high. Anyways, so that is why the land of Israel is particularly holy. And these two peoples, Yishmael and Yehudim, the Yishmael and Yisrael, these two are the only Semitic people. These are the Semitic people in the world. There's no one else, only the Arabs and the Jews. The Palestinians are not Semitic. The Lebanese, are not Semitic. So now, that's probably, that's not really probably correct. I don't know, but these are all Semitic lands, and on these 2 lands were given 2 books of prophecy. One, the Torah, and the other, the Quran. And, it's interesting. In Hebrew, Quran means like light, like a beam of light, like Keren Or. And it also means a corner. And a corner is a very interesting thing in that, like, it's sort of like the infinitesimal point that the corner doesn't exist. You just have 2 kind of 90-degree things that come together, but there really is no corner. It's just achieved from these 2 things coming together. So both ideas, that thing is sort of like beyond. And Rome, who is also a part of all of this, because he is the twin brother of Yisrael. So in order for him to conquer the world, Yisrael must go down, because that was the blessing from their father, that as Yisrael goes down, Esav goes up. So Rome has a real reason to keep Yisrael down. And that's why they take our prophet and nail him to the cross. Jews don't usually call Jesus a prophet. But when I became introduced to the prophecy of the Quran, and the Quran calls him a prophet, so I must call him a prophet too. It's kind of funny that I delved into the Quran and came out believing in Jesus, but not some sort of Christian religious, that's just all not true, but certainly as a prophet. And Rome took our prophet and nailed him to this cross to suffer forever and made the Jews responsible. And as a result, Rome stayed on top. But now everything is getting revealed, and all the lies are getting revealed. And along with it, the truth is getting revealed. And all this stuff will just fade away, because the lie cannot stand up to the truth. The only way they made the lie stand up is by trying to destroy the truth. And you can't destroy truth, because truth is everywhere, just like God is everywhere. And God is abundantly true. And the truth is everywhere. And all we have to do is to reveal the truth, and the darkness will go away. You go into a dark room, you light a little candle. ooh, all the darkness runs away from this little bit of light. And that's the lie. The lie cannot stand up to it. So what does Rome do instead? They divide and conquer. They use this religion to divide the Jewish and the Arab people. But all this is going to be corrected as being, and even though it will take time to correct it, it's not the fact that we have to correct it right away. All we have to do is start going in the right direction. And once we go in the right direction, particularly together as one people, which really we are the human being. And now we're linked into everywhere around the world. And we can see that we're basically all the same. We all have the same capacity of love, of anger, we're all human beings, we're the same, but we're all individuals, we're all different. And just think if we all just came together to make sure that all as human beings we're doing okay, man, so we can have an independent life and do the things that God brought us here for, no question, the climate will get better. Because we'll do more responsible things, we won't be running after you, going up into outer space and stuff. I mean, this is, I just can't, all ever since they started going up there, I'm like, what, don't you see what's going on down here? And that was like in the late 50s and the 60s. And there were so many problems in our society, and there were so many problems in the world, and there was so much lie out there that people were using to, be able to make forces and make a war and make themselves on top. And, now we can look back and see it all. And that's the thing that, Jews were called, Yehudi, comes from the word hodu, to admit. That's what we need to do. That we need to admit the truth. And because the Jewish people have not done that, and because we've been led by the rabbis who've been in bed with the church, and we haven't told the truth about this huge lie they call Christianity. And as a result, they almost took over our country. These are the people who don't know about thinking, rational thought. They only know about dogma. They only know about personalities. And that's what they've been taught by the church. Those are only people who think like that. Just believe in this person. Just believe in this, what I tell you. Don't ask any questions. And as a result, out of that came the Tea Party, who just yelled and screamed and yelled about everything until, people just went away, didn't want to be part of the process, and Clinton was part of that, just really dirty politics. And, so we've been going really downhill for a long time. But that time is really over. It's really worn itself out. No one believes anything that these people say anymore. And we'd all like to have, just a normal life, live in a world, particularly in a rich world like this, where we don't have to walk down the street and see our neighbors living in the gutter. Not right, fuck outer space. Come on, man. None of that. How can any of that, it's just completely illogical. And we have to wake up to the illogic, because we've been taught dogma, and the dogma, supersedes logic. And if we put logic to some of this stuff, we're going to say, wait a minute, man, maybe, print the off switch on outer space. Maybe we should deal with our beautiful planet, our beautiful brothers and sisters, our children, our elders, the whole thing. Everyone is precious. It's precious to God. It's got to be precious to us. All right. That's what I got to say today. Anyways, do go to my site, dovidhouse.com. And if you want more of this, buy my book, Sex, A Metaphor to History, Trump 777 and the 1,000 Years of Woman. Thank you for listening. See you, man.